Last issue you just touched on regarding the committees of Parliament. To my recollection, I think a couple of, two or three committees have been appointed, chairpersons, PSC, EAC, and so on. But what about the other committees? Have those committees been appointed with chairperson? And what is the latest you're hearing from the government side as to why those committees have not been, the chairpersons have not been appointed?
I'm going to revert to my colleague, leader of opposition business in the House.
Yes, you are correct that the PAC and the PAAC have been appointed, and those are chaired by the opposition.
And
As required. Our position is that all those sessional committees that prior to now were chaired by opposition members of parliament must continue in that way. And as you will recall, we resisted when the acting house leader at the time attempted to do otherwise. The matter is now at another level. There are some discussions taking place with the leadership of both parties, you're aware, and we therefore are going to allow that process to be concluded. But we are insisting that there be no change to the status quo, and that in relation to all other committees, economy and production, infrastructure, internal and external, that they all be chaired by the opposition. It is for good reason. We supported what former Prime Minister Golden did in 2008 and continued under former Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller as a good working scenario, because it is in the interest of the opposition to bring to the attention of the Parliament through these committees issues that ought to be properly brought.
And I agree with that final point you made, but while the government and the opposition are having discussions trying to iron out the situation, the business of the country is lagging, because I mean, it's important that these committees get into action so that they can start
absolutely correct.
dealing with those issues. So
No, you're absolutely correct. And in a sense, two issues are highlighted. First of all, we need to recognize that the current administration, headed by Prime Minister Holness, is retreating from previous positions articulated by a former JLP administration headed by Prime Minister Golding, and that he was a part of, Prime Minister Holness, because that advanced the proposition that the affairs of Parliament and of the country would be best advanced by having these parliamentary committees chaired by the opposition. As has been mentioned, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller continued that tradition or that approach. A second point that I think needs to be highlighted is that the reason why that role is given to the opposition in our situation is because the vast majority of the members on the other side are members of the executive. That is to say, they form part of the government. So they can't fulfill a role as independent parliamentarians as such. You have, what, 33 members, and 26 or 27 are either members of the cabinet or ministers of state. So, in the reality of our small size and the size of government, if you want the Parliament to exercise its role as a watchdog of government, as an oversight mechanism, it really requires the committees to work and for the committees to be chaired by the opposition. The third factor, which you have put your finger on, is that the government, by delaying the appointments, by refusing to simply follow the tradition, are in fact holding up the work of the country, because there are lots of issues now which still need to be explored. Issues including the situation with the police cars that were ordered and not received and have been paid for. Issues concerning the RADA and the functioning of RADA and its treatment of the farmers, which would legitimately come up in economy and production committee. And there are a host of other issues, including the Cornwall regional issue, which would come up in the Human Resource Committee of the Parliament. So this failure to appoint the committees is in fact not only a retreat, but a retrograde step as far as our parliamentary democracy is concerned, and fits in with the pattern that Mr. Robinson spoke about a while ago.
Just one more point, and the word from my colleague. Dr. Phillips.
Is it a follow-on, Edmund, or is it a different issue?
Because Dr. Phillips is speaking, I will just allow him to deal with it. Do you have a time frame in mind when you want this commission of inquiry to be conducted? Are you seeing short?
Yeah, well, certainly we would like it to be appointed now, allowing for the period of consultations to take place, and for it to be given in the first instance 3 months, because it's a matter that needs to be urgently resolved and some closure brought to. But with the possibility that the commissioners could ask for an extension should it prove necessary. But I think that they ought to be put under a tight work schedule and allowed to proceed.
Thank you. Go ahead,
Andrea Chisholm, TBJ. Very quickly, is there a timeline for the questions which will be tabled in Parliamentary Cornwall Regional?
Well, look at it this way. The sitting of the House was suspended on Tuesday because of time having elapsed. Let me explain, because I know the rules of the House are sometimes quite mysterious. There is a provision in the standing orders that you need the special permission of the House to sit beyond 7:30 p.m. I'm not certain why that was so. Maybe, I have no idea. I will speculate. The government on Tuesday refused to move that motion can only be moved by the leader of the House, and he refused to move it. What, in our view, though it has to be clarified, the House should resume where it ended on Tuesday. In which case, the answer to your question, Andrea, is that we would expect that next Tuesday we should get the answers to those questions. In the absence of that, we will be putting questions formally on the order paper, and we would expect the answers to be given within 21 days.
Okay, other questions?
Has there been any discussions
No,
with
please, I'm sorry, can you identify yourself?
Chevron Campbell, Nationwide News? Have there been any discussions with the government since Tuesday regarding those questions? Have the opposition, leader of opposition business and government worked out any arrangement regarding them?
No, there has not been any discussion.
Other questions?
It's relating to another issue. Dr. Phillips.
Please identify.
Oh, Prince Moore, RJR. There's discussion or outrage about a view expressed by the St. Catherine East MP Dennis Daly at a meeting in the West Rural St. Andrew constituency over the weekend. She was quoted as saying people in Green will have to leave her constituency. Is this the view shared by the party, and would you call on her to retract those statements?
I've actually spoken to Member of Parliament Daly. She intends to make a statement in the next day or two to clarify what was said and what her intention was. We certainly as a party, we respect the rights of individuals to support whichever party they want, and we support tolerance and opposing views. But she will be making a statement. I spoke to her yesterday, and she intends to clarify what was said in that media report.
I also want to make one short comment regarding the whole issue of the questions, answers to questions being denied, and the committees. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look carefully, you see that there's a pattern by this government to suppress every single oversight of what they do. And you see that in their response to the Contractor General's reports regarding the bushing program, the extent to which ministers, cabinet ministers were involved, and the failure of the Prime Minister to respond to questions raised in that report. I dare to submit that the stance of the government in respect to the chairmanship of the committees is driven by the probe by the PAAC in the police used car matter. 2 years into the administration, or prior to then, they had no issue with the opposition chairing the oversight committees. But because the committee exposed their activities, they are seeking to shut down any probe into their activities. Now, what this lends itself to, the seriousness of it, it lends itself to corruption going abound in the government at the taxpayers' expense. We as an opposition have a responsibility to protect the interests of our taxpayers and the country's interests at large. And it is clear that the government want to run this government and the taxpayers' money as if it's their own personal